Welcome everybody to episode 87 of Dork Tunes. And this week I'm joined by a good friend um, who I think will introduce themselves.
Sure, I'm Alex and I have far too many jobs. But I started off in music and studied music, and then I got a job at Liquid Violet. So I mainly work in dialogue for video games as my day job. And then I also have my own studio and do freelance music and whatever game audio things come my way as well.
Yeah, you've done a lot of games, haven't you, recently? Like quite high profile ones.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of working with an outsourcing company is you get to work on quite a lot of different projects rather than being on one game for like 7 years, as it
Hmm.
is in a studio sometimes.
Do you find that works for you?
Yeah, it's so nice. Because it's such a variety of different things that we get to work on, especially at Liquid Violet, but then adding freelance work to that as well. So, like, obviously with Elden Ring, that's a super dark game, and it's very interesting to edit because the narratives. Well, if you've played it, you know
Yep.
it's quite an experience.
Yeah,
But
I
there's also
am.
more fun games as well that you get like a
Yeah.
nice balance. Like we did the Park Beyond, which is like the roller coaster tycoony kind of game. So that's
Oh
quite fun.
yes, that was just released, wasn't it?
Yeah, right.
Friday. Um, yeah, like how do you find working on such different variety of games?
I mean, it's good for me. I think
Yeah,
I did enjoy, like with Elden Ring, for example, was the biggest one I've done. So that
yeah.
kind of was maybe like 3 or 4 years that I was on that, but
Wow.
little bits come in and out with other projects as well. But that was one that I was really solidly on for a long time. And that is nice because it's very, very rewarding when it comes out because you've put a
Yeah.
lot into it over a long period of
Mhm.
time.
And I have. I'm coming up to nearly 300
Yeah,
hours.
that's more than me.
300 hours and NG plus two.
Nice.
Yeah,
I
it's
maybe a couple of weeks ago, I only finally did the Elden Beast, and it took me
wow.
like a year to do it.
No, I
It's
love
done
playing
now.
it. And it's how me and my friend kind of just relax. We just play that. We're
Mm.
like, right, who will
Such
kill
a
next?
relaxing game.
It's been our thing since, like, especially over the pandemic.
Yeah.
Um, I've leaned into gaming quite a lot. I don't know about you, but certainly with the pandemic, it's just and the lockdowns and all that kind of thing. It seems like when you think about it, it seems completely bonkers what we had to do, but we
Mm.
did it.
It's true.
But
It's
yeah, I
true.
was leaning very heavily into games from then, and I have since. So
Yeah.
I am going to talk about something with you
Of
that's
course.
kind of important to you. Is your new game?
Yeah.
Um,
It's exciting but scary as well, right?
yeah, it's called The Quiet Things.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. So how what brought it about really? You want to talk?
Yeah. So originally, when I was studying for my master's in music at Surrey in Guildford, I created a prototype for the game as my kind of final master's project.
Okay.
So it was during that time that I actually started to be more open with people about things that were happening or things that had happened to me because I'd kind of come from quite a rough background, as is somewhat obvious if you played the game or read anything about it. And
Mm-hmm.
like even going to university was a big deal for me because
Mm-hmm.
it's not usual for like people that have been in care to go to university, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
statistically good that I managed it. But I was saying to the someone the other day, there was a thing that went round that was like draw my life at that time. If you remember, it was just like a trend on YouTube, and you'd do like doodles on like a whiteboard and kind of like tell your life story. But I did
Okay.
that, and then after doing that, people were really like receptive and responded to it, and like lecturers had found it somehow, and were like it kind of opened up like a lot of conversations within our cohort as well. So it was really really nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I'm a huge gamer and started going to game jams when I was doing my undergraduate, and then that sort of married all those things together in creating the kind of first version of the game when I was a
Yeah.
student.
Uh-huh. And we met originally at Game Music Connect.
Oh god, that was one of the first conferences I ever went to when I was a baby student, maybe like my first year. It was amazing though.
Yeah, it really was. I got slaughtered that night. Um, and I lost my way back to the hotel, had to get a taxi, paid
Things
20 quid.
happened.
Honestly, it was such a mess, but it was such a fun night.
It was really wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even remember where it was. It was just somewhere nearby, wasn't it?
The location for Game Music
Yeah.
Connect.
Well, I
Yeah,
know that was
South Bank.
South Bank, but then we went to
Yeah.
some pub that was kind of nearby or something.
It's usually that one just opposite Waterloo. It's like an Italian place that has the
Okay.
upstairs like loft bit. Was that it?
Can't remember. I
You were
think
drunk before you even got there.
that was the year I met Marty O'Donnell. I
Oh,
I don't normally, but I completely fangirled then.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I remember my friend was with me, and later on, I just kind of, when I met Marty, and he gave me his business card, and he was chatting to me and saying, email him, blah, blah, blah. And that was when he was with Bungie. So that's how long ago it was. And
Yeah.
after the conversation, I just walked off in like a cloud of what just happened. My friend was like, I want to get a picture with him too. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry.
I was never brave enough to like ask people for anything. It's like, hello, nice to be in your presence. Like,
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, because Yoris was there. Jason was obviously there, Jason Graves.
mm,
Um, there was loads of people there. It was brilliant. It's such a shame that they don't do them anymore.
yeah. I mean, we have the develop audio track is maybe the closest kind
Yeah,
of regular event, but yes.
yes. So with the quiet things, obviously it's a different and difficult subject matter. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, there's a lot of heavy stuff in there, so don't
Mhm.
feel like you have to go into anything that's too much, but it kind of deals with childhood abuse and mental health issues that naturally occur when that kind of thing
Mhm.
happens. And, like people don't talk about suicide very much, but so many people kind of struggle with those kind of things. So it
Yeah.
was really important to actually
Mm,
address them properly. And a video game seems a good way to do it.
definitely.
Like if you've played similar kind of titles, it
Yeah.
gives you a bit of space and safety to address those subjects, I think.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me, and I hope you don't mind this.
Of course.
It kind of reminds me of Gone Home. It looks gorgeous,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've played Gone Home. I really love that style of game.
Mhm.
I think Dear Esther was the first kind of walking simulator game that I played, but Gone Home was quite soon after, I think.
Mhm.
Um, and prior to that, I hadn't really played games that put more of an emphasis on exploration. So
Mhm.
it's quite interesting when you kind of switch your mindset a bit to be like, I don't need to achieve things or get points or kill
Mhm.
things and just like spend time in the game. It's almost
Mhm.
borderline like meditative at times,
Yeah, definitely.
just to be in the zone. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I'm quite looking forward to playing it, I have to admit. It's like kind of one of my favorite walking sims, as we say. One of them was obviously DRS, and the other one is Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. I mean,
I love
that
it.
for me was just perfection. I really must actually go back and play that along with everything else.
Yeah.
And I just got a PSVR 2, and it's just too hot to play.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It's too, honestly, I haven't done anything today apart from just wander around going, it's too hot, it's too hot, it's too hot.
Just sit in front of the fan like
I
cool me.
know. And when are you looking at kind of releasing the, the game?
Probably like a good year from now, but it's quite dependent on funding and
Mhm.
how things go, I guess. Like it's going well, but I'd say we're maybe like 30% of the way through the story,
Mhm.
but we want to go back and add more things and
Mm.
fill out the environments a bit more. But I think we're focusing on getting like all the core environments and main
Mhm.
narrative, kind of all the dialogue recorded and all the art assets made, and then putting that together. But
Yeah.
also, it's been a lot of focus in just making the demo so that
Mm.
we're able to have something to present to people to
Yeah.
be able to pitch for more funding and work on that.
Yes. And you do have a Kickstarter, so please do follow the Kickstarter and Um, the how are you managing? It must be difficult how you're managing your own time, basically, like working full time, contracting,
Yes.
doing the game. It's like, do you sleep?
I do sleep, not greatly though. I think I kind of compartmentalize things, and I'm quite like I've always been quite disciplined in my time management and working from home since I was freelance prior to that anyway. So I kind of do my 9 till 5 and then maybe do like 4 hours in the evening, but switch that up with freelance depending on what's going on at the time. But I also have my partner Kev, who I can throw things at a little bit if it gets really busy.
Well,
But
that's
yeah,
good.
it's a lot.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot. It's for like I think it's amazing, how people like you can do what you do, um, because you're so talented. Um, how are you going to, and just actually that, while it pops in my head, how are you going to approach the soundtrack for yourself? Because obviously you're the one that's composing it, you're the one that's going to be,
Yeah.
playing it, etc. So
I think music was always a huge thing for me growing up, like it was for many people. And it's the reason why I kind of ended up in games, because originally I was like going to be a rock star, all of that kind of stuff. And I studied music. It was only that I then discovered that games had music, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a thing. But because of that, it's quite
yeah.
like central to the game as well. Like there's a lot of references within the
Mhm.
game to it, and because it was a part of my life growing up, it's a part of the game which is an autobiography, so it kind of naturally fits that. And while I'll probably will collaborate with people and we're looking at licensing a couple of songs that mean something to that
Mhm.
journey, it's also makes sense for me to do it because of the nature of the game and all of that I've just said. So yeah, we're quite inspired by the Life is Strange games, and so Music by Daughter, if you've heard that kind of
Mhm.
soundtrack, so beautiful. I love that
Yeah,
kind of a thing. So
yeah,
it's somewhere between like Elliott Smith acoustic music, but then also a kind of atmospheric, and I want to blend a little bit of orchestral stuff in there,
yeah.
but not too heavy.
Mhm.
Like it's not Call of Duty, obviously.
It sounds really exciting, to be honest. And will it just be you doing the soundtrack, or
Yes,
playing
I've
the?
spoken to a couple of people about helping out with playing some
Yeah,
instruments and stuff like that. Like I play
you calling
guitar.
in a few shots?
Yeah, some favors. Obviously, I'll pay people. But yeah, that's still kind of early days. I
Oh,
mean, I'm
really?
sure with lots of games when you're kind of like we've only been going since January, so it's still quite
Yeah,
soon to be putting music much in the game,
yeah,
especially given the actual bits of gameplay. I wouldn't necessarily have like wall to wall music because it's
yeah.
important to have the environment and the dialogue kind
Mhm.
of having some space then. But we're kind of breaking the game down into maybe 3 sections, and I like the um what like a kind of music video, like that's not the right term, but when music happens at a certain point and you have like a whole song as a
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
breakthrough moment and then you go back
Mhm.
to the game, like that's sort of the idea with the soundtrack, is having those key moments highlighted. I mean even Ori and the Blind Forest does that in a sense. It's obviously not like rock or acoustic music, but it
Yeah,
really builds to something.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I remember being at the recording one day for Aria, and
Mm,
it was just blimey, I've never seen anything
yeah,
like it, in Air Studios, which is absolutely beautiful. Really,
I've
really
never
is.
been there.
Oh,
Yeah,
really? It's
no.
gorgeous. And it's just unfortunate. I was invited down to Abbey Road as well a couple of times, but I couldn't go.
Yeah,
So
Abbey
maybe
Road's the
next
one
time.
I've been to, and I'm like religiously fangirling.
It looks massive.
It's pretty big. I mean, there's obviously a couple of different studios, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to know which one, but the big one is the one that I've been in. Yeah, whatever number that is.
And do you think one day you'd like to record somewhere like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to do it for this game if we get the right amount of money and people on
Yeah.
board. But that's a stretch goal at the top, isn't it?
Yeah, just going to Abbey Road to,
I know,
record the
right?
soundtrack.
It's happened before, and when I was there I was like, I will be back. You can work 10 years for that, but
Yeah.
eventually it'll happen.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I know that you'll probably feel the same way as this. While I don't necessarily work within the games industry, I'm very lucky to have had the experiences that I've had due to the podcast. I
Mm,
never would have been able to go out to Air Studios. I never would have had that life experience. And genuinely, it was probably the one of the best days of my life.
mm.
It was long. I didn't. I left my house at 5:30 in the morning, and I
Yeah, it was the
got
same. I got a bus from Basingstoke or something at like 5 in the morning. It was the first one.
yeah, and I came home. I got home at 11:30 at night that night. So
Yeah, but it's good though.
yeah.
You
Oh,
couldn't do it every
amazing.
day.
Yeah. But that was the thing. We went to the pub for a few drinks afterwards, and they were like, "Why don't you come back tomorrow?" I was like, "I wish I could."
Why not?
I
Sleep.
know, I know. But I got a good day because I got all the kind of the meatier parts.
Mm.
Definitely, it's such a nice feeling to be able to kind of listen to the soundtrack, and when I hear certain tracks, I'm like, I was there while
Like you
that
can
was being
remember
recorded.
the
That
feeling. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's incredible to be stood in the room while they're recording, in the corner, not breathing.
I don't think it'll pick you up from all the way over there.
It's like, just hold your breath.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any soundtracks, like game soundtracks, that are kind of obviously you mentioned one about Life is Strange. Any others
Mm.
that kind of you're leaning on towards, or kind of as a reference, or maybe a kind of bit of a something for the quiet things?
I do quite like Jessica Curry's work, and not because we would sound specifically like that, because it's a different kind of a thing, but she uses vocals really nicely. And I've been to, I think it was maybe a Spitfire concert ages ago where they did
Yeah.
like a vocal, just a choir stuff.
Uh-huh.
I think it must have been from Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, and
Mhm.
that really, like, I like the human voice. I work with dialogue and I like
Mhm.
singing. I'm not necessarily amazing at it, but I appreciate it. So being able to use the human voice, and it's not used like a huge amount in games, and I think like even vocals, it's often more like an anime kind of thing, but it's not
Yeah.
lent on in other styles. So that's quite like why I like Life is Strange, because they're happy to use licensed music or put vocals on stuff.
Mm.
But
Yeah, the
like
Life is
lyrics are
Strange.
so powerful. Why not use them?
Yeah, yeah. I really loved the Life is Strange games. I must play two. Um,
It's good.
but yeah, you're right about Jessica. Kind of, there's something really personal about her work. Really personal.
Mm.
Um, and I don't know whether you've heard it, but the soundtrack for So Let Us Melt.
I don't think I've managed to like get my hands on that. I don't know if it's just for like a specific platform.
So good. Yeah,
Mm.
it was like done for like a VR phone, like a
Right,
VR
yeah.
game. But the soundtrack is absolutely amazing. Um it's quite different, kind of due to her like normal choral style.
Mm.
It's like electronic choral kind of mix.
Ooh.
It's really,
Oh yeah,
really,
I'm sure I would like that.
yeah. I was really lucky because about 6 weeks before the game actually came out, she sent me the soundtrack,
Nice.
and listened to it, and I loved it. It's phenomenal.
Mm.
Especially I have a big thing for this title track, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Um, I didn't realize, and she was like, "Well, let me know what you think." So, I emailed her. I didn't realize that I was the first person outside of her and her husband, and her house, her own home, that heard the soundtrack. She sent it to me to basically review. You
Mm.
know, um, that is really, really something special.
Yeah.
And then she sent me some signed sheet music from it. So it's the So Let Us Melt sheet music.
Mm.
So yeah, bit of a special thing for me,
Keep it
And
forever.
absolutely, I'm really lucky because, as I said, mentioned earlier on, the things that it's afforded me to have and to do, it's been really
Yeah.
good. Like I'm sitting here and I'm looking over here because I can see it's hanging in my wall in my
Yeah.
hall, the So Let Us Melt sheet music, which is next to sheet music for Naissance by Austin Wintory, which is signed. Um, and I have signed sheet music from Ori from Gareth as well. You know,
Are you
those
trying to get robbed like right now?
honestly, I swear to God, if my house was to burn down, they would be coming
No,
with me.
yeah.
You know, and then I have a booby lady at the top of my stairs. I'll have to send you a picture.
Okay.
I won her
I
in a
feel like that
competition.
needs more more
Yeah,
description.
It's definitely not for the show.
Okay.
I will send you a picture afterwards. But yeah, and then I've also realized I won a competition a couple of years ago, and I won the soundtrack to Gollum, um,
Oh
which
wow.
was scored by Marty O'Donnell, and it's signed.
So yeah, you've basically got a big old collection going on.
Yeah, so they would be coming with me when if and when my house ever burnt down. So yeah, and the dogs.
Yes, of course. Dogs first. Maybe get a little bag that you can put on the dogs for all the stuff.
Funny you should say that. We went on holiday recently to St. Bees, which is in the Lakes, Cumbria.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I have family there.
Beautiful place, absolutely beautiful. Um, and we had to travel down with the dogs. Um, one was on my knee, and then the other one was in a dog carrier bag. That was Peggy. So,
Oh.
she loved that. Not.
When Loki was a puppy, you know, like before you get them vaccinated, you
Yeah,
you can take them out but in a bag rather than on the
yeah,
floor.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
he'd just like sleep in it. And I was like, this is meant to be good socialization, but you're just having a nap through the whole walk.
And just for everybody to know, we have the same type of dog. So
Yes.
we're Schnauzer lovers. How old is Loki now?
He's 8.
Gosh,
He's an old
gosh.
man now. Yeah.
I know. I mean, Frida's coming up for 6,
Mm.
and then this one, the noise machine. Um,
Aren't they all?
oh no, honestly, we've had Schnauzers forever, and
Yeah.
she is the noisiest one I've ever had. I think for her, and it's not her fault, you know. We got her at the beginning of lockdown, so for 9 months
Yeah.
she only saw me, and my other half. That's it. So like people didn't do the usual thing with puppies and be like, "Oh my God, puppy!"
Yeah.
None of that. So she vocalizes when we go out for a walk, shall we just say?
That's fine. Everything's an event. Like a leaf moving, a bin appearing, all of those things. Loki's like
Oh,
must be announced.
yeah, 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 yeah. So with the quiet things, how obviously that's yours and yours alone. How do you find kind of working on it, especially with the subject matter, do you find that difficult, because it brings things up from
Yeah.
your past?
Yeah, I mean it is a difficult thing and it's also not as bad as having gone through it, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of at
Yeah.
peace with everything that's happened,
Hmm.
and gone through a lot of therapy as I would
Hmm.
recommend to people. But
Absolutely. CBT is amazing.
yeah, like I mean, without getting too heavy, like I've gone through really loads of different kinds and like
Yeah.
complex like PTSD and stuff like that because it kind of like adds on to each other when
Hmm.
things keep happening. But
Hmm.
if you keep talking about things and keep addressing them, whether or not you feel better right that second, in the
Hmm.
long term, it really helps.
Yeah, completely. I always say to people that it's okay to cry, it's okay to have these feelings, because if you don't, somewhere down the line, they're going to come out and they're going to come out in the worst possible way, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I think it's really important that we do talk about mental health, and suicide. I've struggled with my mental health over the years. I
Mm.
went through a horrible period, where I was on a lot of drugs. You know, I got admitted to hospital 4 times. Didn't
Yeah.
go, but I was admitted.
Mm.
um, I've lost friends to suicide, unfortunately. That one, that's a kicker. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's really important and I think it's brilliant that there is going to be something that is, it's a physical thing, like
Mm.
your game, the quiet things, that's talking about these things, because people
Yeah.
don't.
No, and like we're the lucky ones, we're still alive and carrying on.
Mm.
But the same as you, I've lost friends to suicide, and it's sad but eye-opening every time
Yeah.
you talk about these conversations, how many other people have that same shared experience.
Hmm.
But the worry is why we're not talking about it, because if we did, and I think I did mental health first aid training recently with
Hmm.
Safe in Our World, and they kind of encourage you as a first aider to just ask the question, like, are you feeling suicidal? Because people don't address it, and someone sat there feeling like that for however long, and eventually you know, it just happens, and there was no one there asking the question. So it can be something as simple as just addressing it head on in an appropriate and timely way, obviously. But you know, like actually being willing to have those difficult conversations could make a huge difference to, you know, it will save lives.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question now, another one.
Of course.
Any game soundtracks at the moment that are kind of, you know, piquing your interest?
Ooh. I mean, I haven't played as much as I would love to. It's just one of those horrible things that the more you work in the games industry, the less time you have to play games. And I was like, I'm never going to be like that. I'll always have time. And like, I do still play, but I'm not as much as I would like. Like, I'm playing Pokemon Violet at the moment, which is just vibes, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
It's just beautiful. And I really enjoy something that's a bit more relaxed. But
yeah,
I personally had nothing to do with the Elden Ring soundtrack, but I do really love that as well. And I think, what else have I played recently? I don't even know.
I know.
Maybe Cult of the Lamb's quite cool.
Oh yeah, that's kind of not my thing, but I can totally see why it is. What's that one it reminds me of? It's the other one that it reminds me of, Cult of the Lamb. Something about you have to kill your mother.
I don't know. I feel like I would know.
Yeah, it looks similar, but yeah, I think for me, I don't know whether you've seen it. There's a game called Bramble that just came out.
I have.
It's really good. It's basically about a boy trying to find his sister, and there is a lot of stuff around that as well, around mental health and things. But there's the score for it is wonderful, and they use this piece of music that is actually a nursery rhyme, I think, in their country, and because it's not from the UK. And if you can download the demo, and it's in the demo. And I've never had a demo, genuinely. I've never had a. Yeah, actually, I have. No, that's wrong, Pete. I've never had a game make me cry. Wrong.
Lies.
I've never had a demo make me cry.
Yeah. Have you played mine yet, though? That's not a challenge.
But I will. Yeah, it's just download the demo because the song is in that. It's just beautiful.
Okay, I will.
It's one of those ones where you want to put your headphones on and just sit and listen. You know, I love those soundtracks. Like, and I know I bang on about it probably every episode, but that Dragon Cancer, one of the best soundtracks like ever created. It's just beautiful. I go back to that.
Bizarrely, I can't even remember the soundtrack because the game's so intense.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I would have to listen to it again separately outside of the game to really appreciate it. But I do appreciate the game.
I would highly recommend it. There's my particular track is Awake, Oh Awake, My Joel. And that makes me cry. It's such a beautiful piece where every note is given the chance to breathe and you can hear it. You know, it's almost a living thing, you know?
Right, I'll definitely have to dig back into that because I replayed that game quite recently, just like playing games that are inspirations for our title. That was a natural one because it's an autobiography and it's pretty heavy stuff. So I was like, I want to make sure that I deal with everything in the right way and be sensitive to topics, not just like throw trauma around.
I remember when I interviewed John Hillman, I specifically remember this because there's a couple of things. And it's a really difficult subject matter, you know.
Sure.
You know, basically about a young child who passes away from cancer, and he said that he was working on the soundtrack because he was friends with the family. He's friends with the family, and he was working on the soundtrack, and he had some pieces together. He said it didn't quite feel right, so he said one night his wife and his kids went to bed. And he just sat at the piano and this just came out. And and he just basically scrapped everything else and that's what became the soundtrack. You know, that
I
one
do
night.
find music is sometimes like that though, because you can work too hard at it and then suddenly when you like let go of something, you
Yeah.
can just write like really quickly.
Yeah. He literally said he had the thing done in 24 hours, sort of thing.
Mm.
So, what's next for Alex?
Oh, we have to get this game out first. So that's probably another year of my
Yeah.
life dedicated to this project. So naturally, I do freelance work on various things. Like we're working on Arizona Sunshine 2 at the moment, which is really, really
Nice.
fun. Yeah, and the dialogue for that's very funny. So it's a good like breather from my own game, which is very heavy, and that's quite amusing and zombies. So yes, that's good.
I will definitely be picking that up. Definitely.
Yes, I don't think I've played the first one. I just know about it, and
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a like cowardly custard, if you want to call it that, in which I'm horror's
Hi.
generally not a thing.
No, no. I keep my friends are big into horror, and they're like, "You should watch this film. It's not too bad." I'm like, mm-mm, mm-mm. The
I
scariest films I
yeah,
get, genuinely, the scariest films I get is Scream.
I haven't seen that, so don't worry.
The new Scream is brilliant. I can tell
Are
you
they
that.
like borderline amusing ones?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah. So they're all right. Um, although there was one scene in the new one. Um, but yeah, I can't do horror films. I watched The Thing a few years ago, and I've rewatched it. There's bits in that. No, if you like dogs, do not watch.
Oh no.
It's
Animals,
great.
people kill them. Animals no.
Yeah, honestly, there's
It's
a
true,
website.
right?
I'm fairly certain there's a website that you can log into, and it tells you, does a dog die in this?
I believe very much that that's a thing.
Yeah, I watched I Am Legend. Well,
Mm.
never again. Good Lord, that was distressing. And
I think I
Marley
was
and
all right
Me,
because I watched it when I was young, so I didn't really like have as much feelings as I do
yeah,
now.
no. And I won't even go anywhere near Marley and Me.
No,
Good Lord.
definitely not.
So you've got loads on, and you've got
Yes.
loads on, you've got loads of work. You've got the game, which is what, about 30% there?
Yeah, but I think that's always going to end with periods of play testing within that and trying to make sure that it's right. Like we were struggling with the demo a little bit because I wanted it to be this exploration vibe and not handhold people too much through it. But with a
Yeah.
demo, you've only got a small amount of time to kind of show what the game is. So I think we've had to adjust a few things and make it a little bit easier for people to find everything. For example, I'd put like objects up high and nobody was looking at anything other than eye level, and I'm not going to leave them abandoned for like half an hour just being like what, or they'll just quit and not get to the second part. So yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
But exciting times ahead, huh?
yes, absolutely.
And do you think if all things go well that you might port the Quiet Things to other platforms?
Yeah, so we're currently trying with Xbox because they're quite accessible for indie developers. So I'm
Uh-huh.
hopeful that that will be easier. PlayStation have more of a requirement of having to have like 2 years
Mhm.
of accounts or something, which we don't have yet. But in
Oh,
the future,
really?
when we do have that, we can apply for it.
Yeah.
Maybe someone nice will talk to us. You never know. And bizarrely, I never thought about putting it on Switch because I associate that
Really?
with Pokemon and Animal Crossing and like Zelda. Do you know what I mean? To me, it's a Nintendo specific platform.
Yeah, yeah,
But I realized that lots of games like Lost Words was more recently put on it and things like
yeah,
that. So people have
Mm,
asked for it now, and I'm like, okay, we
yeah.
have to do that as well.
The Magnificent Truffle Pigs.
I haven't played that either. Played nothing.
You haven't played my game?
Sorry.
Yeah, that was released just over 3 years ago now.
That long ago. Oh
Yeah, it's
gosh,
crazy,
that's bad of me.
crazy. I know. I've got a signed little thing on the wall. I'll show you in a minute. Um, from that.
If in doubt, you have a signed thing of everything,
Well,
essentially.
it was just and Andrew sent me a couple of postcards with it, and there's like a little coin that you get, and that's
Nice.
he had them made for people who made the game.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I had it all framed, and it's all lovely and on
Cute.
my walls now. So, and do you know what? I look at it every day, and it makes me smile.
That's good. That's what you need
Yeah,
on your walls. Yeah.
yeah. Things that you've done, that you had a hand in, that you can look at and go, I did that.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to do that with the Quiet Things now too.
Yes. I have a photo tile wall here that's kind of like all the projects I've worked on. But eventually it'll outgrow the room.
Good, good. But thank you
Just
very
all
much
over
for
the
being.
house.
I know. You just have to buy a bigger house.
I've only just bought this one.
I know, yes. You just how long you're not even in it? 6 months, are you?
Yeah, we got in December, so just
Oh,
about,
okay.
yeah.
Just about 6 months. Wow.
Yeah,
Bit of a different from your old place and
very,
your
very
lovely
much.
neighbours. No. But all I'm left today is just thank you for being part of the show. It's been absolute pleasure having a chat with you. And best of luck, obviously, with the quiet things and everything else.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Bye, everybody.